Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Last week, we told you about a ceasefire in West Asia between Israel and Hezbollah, bringing some hope of stability in the region. But it did not last because another conflict has flared up, the old civil war in Syria, with major cities falling to rebels and intense fighting on. Tonight, we'll bring you the latest on the ground and tell you what Vladimir Putin and President Erdogan of Turkey are doing in the Syrian war. Has Zelensky agreed to a ceasefire with Russia ceding control of Ukrainian territory? Why has Donald Trump threatened 100% tariffs on BRICS countries? Why US President Joe Biden has pardoned his son Hunter after saying for years that he won't do it? How Hindus continue to come under attack in Bangladesh? How China is supporting and strengthening the Pakistan Navy and how India should be seeing this? And what is Belgium's new law on sex workers that promises them pension and maternity benefits? All this and more coming up. The headlines first. US President Joe Biden heads for his first and final trip to Africa. He will visit oil-rich Angola for 3 days. The visit aims to highlight US investments in the continent. Biden's trip comes amid China's deepening influence in Africa. Israeli attacks killed 2 people in southern Lebanon. Beirut accuses Israel of violating the truce. France asks all sides to respect the ceasefire. It's been 6 days since the 2 countries declared a halt in fighting. Russian President Vladimir Putin set to visit India early next year. Indian Prime Minister Modi extended an invite to him during the BRICS summit this October. Putin will be here for the 23rd India-Russia annual summit. This will be the Russian president's first visit to India since the war in Ukraine began. 4th consecutive night of nationwide protests in Georgia. The Prime Minister rejects calls for new elections. Europe condemns the use of excessive police force. Georgia has been rocked by unrest since the ruling party paused EU accession talks. A deadly stampede at a Guinea stadium kills more than 50 people. It was triggered by a contested decision by the referee at a football match. Further stone pelting by spectators led to a stampede. Video showed dozens climbing over high walls trying to escape. And a landmark climate hearing is underway at the International Court of Justice. It aims to set a legal framework on how countries tackle climate change. This case was led by vulnerable island nations, especially Vanuatu. The ICJ will hear testimonies from almost 100 countries. This is the largest case in the court's history.
Diktatörlerin sonu budur. Diktatörlerin sonu budur. Allahu Ekber.
West Asia is on the boil again, only this time in a different country, Syria. It is witnessing intense fighting. An old conflict has flared up again. First, look at the images. This video is from Sunday. A bomb fell on a busy street in the city of Aleppo. Aleppo is one of the biggest cities of Syria. Large parts of Aleppo have now fallen to the rebels, including the heart of the city. And the Aleppo airport had to be shut. Reports say rebels have taken control of it. It was a lightning offensive. It began on Wednesday, and within a few days, the Assad regime lost control of Aleppo. The images are quite dramatic. There was a statue of Assad's brother, Basil, in the city. It was torn down by a group of armed men. Reminds you of the fall of Saddam Hussein in Iraq. That was in 2003, when Iraqis brought down Saddam's statue in a similar fashion. But barring videos like these, of course, the Syria story is very different from Iraq. The Syrian civil war began in 2011 during the Arab Spring. Protesters wanted to overthrow President Bashar al-Assad. The protests turned into armed conflicts. Foreign players joined in. Terrorist groups exploited the chaos, but Assad held on with support from friends like Iran and Russia. But now Iran and Russia are involved in their own conflicts. Iran is pitted against Israel. Russia is fighting in Ukraine. So Bashar al-Assad was left vulnerable in Syria. And rebels exploited this opportunity to strike. As I said, it began last week. The rebels made gains immediately. They captured large chunks of land, including parts of provinces like Hama. Their next target is said to be Damascus, the capital of Syria. Will Assad be able to fend it off? At this point, his army appears outmatched.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر هاي الدبابات هاي الباصات الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر هاي الدبابات هاي دبابة ثانية غاد الله أكبر الله أكبر هاي دبابة.
So what exactly is happening here? How are the odds stacked? And who is leading this new offensive in Syria? You see, after years of conflict, Syria is a country with multiple power centers. The Assad regime controls only about 60% of it, only about 60% of the territory. In the east, it's the Kurds who hold sway. In the northwest, in cities like Idlib, there are other rebel groups. Despite using his full force, Assad has not been able to regain total control of his country. So again, who is behind this latest offensive? It's a group called HTS, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. It's an offshoot of the Al-Qaeda and is being supported by smaller rebel groups. Now, the HTS is not a new group. They've been around since 2016. Until recently, they were the de facto rulers of Idlib, the city in the northwest. The group has around 30,000 fighters, which is a considerable number, big enough to mount a new offensive. And they're up against the Syrian army.